the night session of practice, I should say, last night, we had 5 Porsches at the front of the field in GTD. The 2 Alex Job racing cars, number 23 and number 22, at the top of the charts, followed by the number 58 Dempsey Racing entry of Madison Snow and Jan Halen, and then the Park Racing Motorsports Porsche car number 73, and the BG Racing BG Autosport entry car number 81, the top 5 in GT this morning. But this is qualifying, this is different, and just 15 minutes to go in this session for these cars, and then we'll have a short break, and the GTLM cars will follow shortly after that. So welcome if you're on the web listening to us around the world. We're at Road Atlanta for the 17th annual Petit Le Mans, the 11th and final round of the 2014 Tudor United Sports Car Championship. My name is Jeremy Shaw. Greg Creamer has just joined me alongside after the podium ceremonies for a very exciting Continental Tire Sports Car Championship race, which was won by the Multimatic Ford Mustang team and resulted in a GS Championship for the Full Line Motorsports BMW of Trent Hinman and the BMW in the Manufacturers Championship there. The ST race was won by the Compass 360 Racing Honda of Kyle Gimple and Ryan Eversley. A tremendously exciting race, but now we're into qualifying for tomorrow's Petit Le Mans, and we have just 15 minutes for the GT cars, the GTD cars. They started just a few moments ago. No one, the first cars are coming across the timing lines now to start their qualifying runs, and we will have 15 minutes for each of the 4 sessions. It'll be the GTD cars out first of all, then there will be a 5-minute break before the GTLM cars come out onto the track for their 15 minutes. Then there'll be a slightly longer break of 10 minutes before the PC cars have their 15-minute session, followed at the end of the evening, or at 5:25, by the prototype cars. Greg?
Absolutely, and we're already seeing, the cars just are getting set for a lap, really laying back all the way down into turn 10, and then they just drop the hammer at the exit of 10, wanting to get a little bit of clear track and then be able to get it done. Obviously, there aren't points for pole or anything in this, and it's a 10-hour race, so you wonder, just is it that important? Well, where the important part of this is, the farther up you start in your class, the less likely you are to be caught up in something that unfolds should an incident happen in your class, and it just means you have less work to do to try and get to the front as opposed to just staying at the front. So yes, it is important, and of course there's always that, be at the front of your class, get a little TV exposure in the early part of the race. That always happens as well, and we've got a fabulous mix here, and based on what we've seen for times so far, this should be an exceptionally close session. We've got a wonderful variety of machinery that's out there. In the numbers game, it's Porsches, but there's a lot of very quick stuff out there. And you're watching right now, that is the always fast and impressive Dane Cameron in the Turner Motorsport BMW, the number 94, who comes in here now with a scant lead in the points after being the best finisher of the points contenders at the most recent round at Circuit of the Americas. There's the car. That's the Revo 555A Motorsport machine that has led the championship really for most of the season since winning at Daytona, and they just have dropped off a little bit. The Ferraris have been struggling just a little bit in GT Daytona as of late.
Yes, they have. They were certainly very strong in the early part of the season, even the middle stages, but some changes to the balance performance over the last several rounds, and the Ferrari team's not happy, of course, but we'll see how it unfolds in the 10-hour race here tomorrow. It could be a very different story indeed, but the best of the Ferraris yesterday in the final practice session last night showed a little bit more promising form, with the number 49 car of Marco Cicciucci, Giuseppe Perezzini and Eddie Cheever III running in the top 10, but they were only a little bit more than half a second away from the fastest times in the class. So in terms of lap times, they were fairly close, but they were certainly languishing farther down the order than they would have certainly liked.
Boy, the first really quick lap now, a 1:22.94. That should be Jerome Bleekemolen in the number 33 Viper. And, well, that changes up as the number 23, that's the Alex Job Team Seattle machine, comes by. And that was a really strong lap, a 22.7 for that car. And we would expect, as usual, that would be Mario Farnbacher doing the qualifying in that car. Ian James might be a little too tired at the moment to be able to get out in that car, as he just completed that long 2.5-hour race as well. So as always, though, Mario Funbacher has proven to be a very, very quick qualifier.
Yeah, he has indeed, and a good battle going on here in second place, right, number 73, Park Place Motorsports Porsche. Kevin Estre, the Frenchman, making his charge now. He's turning a 1 minute 22.9, so it's a 1 minute 22.7 for the number 23 Alex Job Racing Porsche, the 122.9 for the number 73 Park Place Motorsports Porsche, and a 1 minute 22.9 also for the number 33 Riley Motorsports Viper, with Johan Blekemolen at the wheel. In fourth place, Dane Cameron in the Turner Motorsports BMW Z4, car number 94. And I tell you what, our scoring system is kind of weird, because we've got the car numbers are correct, but the drivers are shown the cars from the previous ST race, which is very bizarre. It's now beginning to sort itself out.
Yeah, we need to just
very confusing, that.
It is, isn't it? Good run again by the number 27, Andrew Davis, who put his Camaro on pole for the Continental Tire race earlier this weekend, now jumping up into the top 5 in the 27 Dempsey Racing Porsche. So a very strong run for that car right now. That, by the way, the Ritz-Carlton Rewards credit card Dempsey Racing car.
And pretty fast lap times by these guys here. 122.6, an improvement there for Dane Cameron in the Turner Motorsports BMW. He charges to the top in that distinctive yellow and blue BMW Z4. That car has been fast, particularly.
And as he does so, as you're looking at it, is now Jan Halen to the top at a 1 minute 22.56 in the 58 Universal Industrial Sales Porsche from Wright Racing and Snow Racing, and James Davison in the Aston Martin 007 that has been so fast as of late, a 122.503, and goes right to the top.
James Davison has been on the pole for the last 3 races in a row in a TUDOR United Sports Car Championship, but has not been able to convert that into a top finish at all. But another very, very strong run for that TRG AMR entry. And in second place now is Jan Halen in the Dempsey Racing Snow Racing number 58 car.
Well, I'll tell you, the top 6 right now is covered by 4/10.
Yeah, it's super close.
Love this stuff.
2/10. Super close.
Yeah.
Super close. 22.503 there for James Davison. 22.566 for Jan Halen. Dane Cameron at 22.682. And Kevin Estre gets among the mix as well. Third place now for Kevin Estre in car number 73, that Park Place Motorsports Porsche, 122.593. So 0.09 of a second covering the top 3 cars, all and 1 Aston Martin and 2 Porsches.
Boy, that 73, well, the Park Place team in general has been very strong. And, you know, at the most recent round, Circuit of the Americas, Mike Skeen in the 71 car that isn't running here this weekend actually put it 4th on the grid as the best Porsche. So they've done a lot of tweaking on those cars. And I'm not talking about, BOP. I'm talking about the team working on those cars, and they've really found something. And it is shining right now. So good for Kevin Estre at this stage.
Improvement again, though, for James Davison.
Oh, wow.
He was already fast. It's now gone faster till 1 minute 22.254 for the Australian in car number 007, that distinctive black and blue Aston Martin. And that is really, really running strong. Boy, it's been the class of the field in qualifying, hasn't it?
But they just have not, I mean, horrible luck. They haven't been able to convert that into any kind of a result. But yeah, you know, if you're a betting man, I know you're not, but if you were, that would be the 007 car in GTD qualifying right now. And I think a lot of it is Aston Martin and what the Racers Group and Aston Martin Racing has been able to do. But I think a lot of that James Davison, this kid is something.
Yeah, he really is. He's a talent, and he's just getting better and better as James Davison. He comes from a huge racing family. His grandfather, Lex, was a 5-time winner in the Australian Grand Prix back in the 50s and 60s. His dad ran the Sandown Park racetrack in Melbourne for many, many years. Real character. They're all characters, that family. His cousins all raced successfully in V8 supercars and Porsches and you name it. And James is just carrying on the family tradition.
There is a rule in TUDOR United Sports Car Championship qualifying. You're guaranteed 10 minutes of green flag time. Once, if it's green up through the 10 minutes, they say session is official. So no matter what would happen at this point forward, what unfolds in this session would count for times. And Davison now throwing down that lap, that 122.25, with Halen next up at a 22.5. That's 3/10, and I think Davison says, you know, if somebody can beat it, good. We're going to save these tires.
I think you're absolutely right, because the cars do have to start tomorrow's 10-hour race on the tires with which they qualified this afternoon. So you do need to take care of your tires. Make sure you don't take too much out of them to prepare for that first stint of the race tomorrow morning, I should say.
I'm watching, watching Bleekemolen come by. And you know what? He just turned a 23.1, his best lap of 22.9. Was watching him as he turned into turn 10. He was on it, and then there was a big wiggle out of the car, and he saved it, but it scooted him too far to the right to be able to get the right arc through the second part of turn 10, 10B, the right-hander. And I think that alone cost him a better lap than what he had set previously. It may have cost him, perhaps a couple of spots, because he was on one.
Yeah, he seemed to be, didn't he? He was really hustling that car. Here's one of the Flying Lizard Audi R8s, car number 45. That will be Spencer Pompelli driving that car. He's currently only 14th, the local resident, one of many local residents in this race this afternoon, from just down the road here in Swanee, Georgia. And 14th is certainly not what the Flying Lizard team had in mind coming into this weekend. The sister car of Seth Nyman is, he's rounding out the field now in 18th place, but
Seth had an off over at turn 7 during the session, so that's why he's back a little bit right now.
One of the reasons to explain that. But Spencer Pompelli 123.653, but even that is only just 1.2 or 3 seconds off the front row of the grid, and he finds himself in 14th. That is how competitive is this GTD field.
It is. It's exceptional at that, and I know it's a frustrating time for the Flying Lizard team, because you look at the first third of the season, they were in contention for wins. They had poles, and everything's just kind of shifted a little bit. And there's been adjustments made to some of the other cars that weren't quite on pace, that now are there. And I think the Audi teams in particular, and of course you're talking about Flying Lizard, you're also talking about Paul Miller Racing. They're kind of scratching their heads, going, well, we're not quite there. We could use a little bit of help. But as the professional teams they are, they just stay after it and keep on pushing. That is Dane Cameron's number 94, parked down at pit lane for Turner Motorsports. Jan Halen is out there now. He's really coasting down into turn 10, which tells me he wanted to get a gap. There was a car in front of him a little bit that he saw. And let's see if he drops the hammer coming out of turn 10. That might be an indicator that he wants to go. No question about it, Kevin Estra is on one.
Meanwhile, James Davison is not. He's sitting in the pit lane. The Aston Martin is up on jacks, and the V12 Vantage up on the jacks. He doesn't seem to be planning on taking part anymore in this session. Time ticking away inside the final minute now. No real improvements lately. It's still, well, there was an improvement actually there for Kevin Estra, 122.471, still in third place. That was his 8th lap. Jerome Bleekemolen also did improve to move up into 4th in the number 33 Viper, 1:22.5.
Estra just locked up a little bit going into 7, some smoke roiling off of the tires on the right side of the car, and I think he stayed after it until he got a good read on the predictive, and clearly he missed the apex a little bit, so he's decided to give that one up, and he ducks in right as I believe the number 27 of Andrew Davis flashes around behind him, and down the front straight that car comes. Checker flag comes out, and so Davis will get one more lap at it, and I think that was the 45 of Pompelli coming through, just getting the checkered flag. So his session has now concluded, and so really, there's a couple other guys out there. If Halen, as we saw him back off a little bit, if he certainly had time to get the run going. Here he is down into turn 10, and he's pushing. Very aggressive on the curbs on the entrance to 10, on the exit now up and under the bridge at 11, dropping down into 12, feeding at throttle. Can he do it? He needs to find. He had got down to a 22.3 the lap before. A 22.4, but what a great lap previously by Halen to trim that 0.3 deficit down to a 10th off of James Davison. So a great lap by Jan Halen, and the crew for James Davison, they recognized that immediately, and look at that, yeah, four poles, man. What a great run. And as soon as Halen came through and didn't do it, they knew it was theirs. Absolutely awesome run. Yeah, tremendous run for James Davison. They're a really likable young man. He's worked very, very hard to get this opportunity to drive this Aston Martin. Boy, is he taking full advantage of it. So it's another great run for the Aussie in qualifying. Let's hope that team can put it together in a race as well and have some fun, have maybe a little bit of good luck on their side. In second place, though, for Dempsey Racing and the Snow family team, Jan Halen and Manderson Snow,
Jan Halen entrusted with the qualifying duties. 2 brilliant laps there towards the end of that session. A 1 minute 22.395 a couple of laps ago. They took a lap to cool off the tyres and have another run at the end, 22.433. So his laps good enough for second and third on the grid if he needed it. He didn't. And in third place, therefore, is the Park Place Motorsports Porsche of Kevin Estre from France.
Celebrations going on down in the Racers Group Aston Martin Racing pit, because in the Tudor United Sports Car Championship, when you qualify on pole, you win the Total Pole Award. So they're getting that presentation down there. Meanwhile, a phenomenal field of GTLM cars are getting ready to come out and put on what should be an equally and even more spectacular display of speed in qualifying. As we're getting ready to go, our Jim Martin is down in pit lane. I know he's probably in a queue right now trying to get a word with our pole sitter, as obviously after qualifying, covered by Fox. They're looking to get that as well. So if Jim can get it, we'll just have him jump in. But coming up next will be that GTLM qualifying. And, this one has been an interesting scenario to watch as the season has unfolded in the qualifying ranks. As of late, the Vipers from the Dodge Viper SRT team from SRT Motorsports have shown awfully good pace, but after a little bit of an adjustment of performance to the factory Porsches, they came in to Circuit of the Americas and were right back in the game as well. The car, though, that's been really streaking together some poles here in the latter half of the season has been the Risa Competizione Ferrari.
Yeah, that's right. They had 2 poles out of the last 4 races. But all 5 of the manufacturers have scored pole positions this year, which is actually quite remarkable. Jim Martin has caught up with Patrick Dempsey in the pit lane.
Yeah. Patrick's been down here watching some of the team doing the very best they can and come within inches of where they wanted to be. Awfully close.
Oh, yeah, it's really great. They did a fantastic job in qualifying. It's so close. It's so competitive. That's what makes this class so much fun to drive in. It's very, very competitive. It's our best qualifying in the 27 as well. I think overall performance of the team very strong going into the race, and looking forward to it. Aston, they did a great job. Those guys have been on fire all season with qualifying, so their hats off to them and congratulate them on that, and looking forward to the race.
It'll be a great one. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
1 minute to the start of GT Le Mans qualifying. 1 minute to the start of GT Le Mans qualifying. And as we see some of the GT Daytona cars clearing pit lane, some of the GT Le Mans cars are getting ready. And generally, you don't see them queue up at pit exit. They're just sitting in their pit stall, and once the track goes green for their session, because they want to allow space for the other cars to clear pit lane, and then as soon as it goes green, it's just sort of a en masse blast toward pit exit here. It's actually kind of fun to watch because they just uncork those cars and let them get going. And if you're looking at, watching on screen here, if you look at the front of those Porsches, the 912 sitting there, and you can just see the sister 911, you see that little bit right in front of that left front tire, that little bit right in the front. They extended that splitter area, let them run a little wider splitter. They also have a little bit different profile on the rear wing because they were really suffering. And look at that. Crews wave them out and go, see what you can do. And nobody gets any significant advantage there, and it's the Vipers first out. That means they have the clearest track.
And the GTLM Manufacturers Championship could not be more finely poised. Dodge SRT and Porsche absolutely tied at the front of the table, 308 points apiece. And the battle for third place is just as close. Chevrolet and BMW tied on 300 points apiece. So it has been a remarkable season.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? I think Jim Martin's found somebody. Jim?
Thank you very much. It's become a noisy place. Everybody's decided to go qualify their GTLM cars. James Davison is here, cooling off just a little bit. It was a short run, but it looks as though it was just as hard work as ever.
Yeah, exactly. We try to do minimal laps on our tyres and get the peak out of it. For the first time this year, I had to have 2 attempts at it. Just didn't quite hit my marks on the first lap. And as it turned out, I needed to do that second lap to stay on pole. I love Road Atlanta. It's always been good to me. I won the pole here in Star Mazda 7 years ago. So certainly that helped, that experience. And just a great team effort. everyone's doing their job very well, executing, and we're really excited to have Royal Purple, Orion, Christina Orr in the car this weekend, and with her and David Block, Al Carter, we're looking at trying to get our first win, first podium of the year, and finish on a high.
Pursuing perfection, James Davison, thanks for your time and trouble. Have a good one.
Thanks very much, Jim, and again, congratulations to James for that Total Pole Award. Just saw the number 55 BMW had a big spin down into the turn 10 area, and you can see it's got a bit of debris gathered up into the grill on that car. That is, as I said, the number 55, and it's one of the BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan machines. You don't often see that happen down there. I'm not exactly sure who they've tabbed for qualifying in this one. You would suspect it would be either Bill Auberlin or Andy Prio, but they also have Joey Hand joining them this weekend. A bit of a homecoming for that team. They have Joey back, who's of course a busy lad running BMWs and DTM. And Joey gets around the track pretty well too, obviously. So we'll just have to wait and see what starts popping up in the order as to who got the nod for qualifying.
Yeah, that's right. They tend to alternate at BMW Team RLL, and Andy Prio does have a pole position to his name this season in the TUDOR United Sports Car Championship, and absolutely loving his opportunity to drive over here on a full-time basis. A former three-time world champion in the touring car ranks was Andy Prio, also for BMW in kind of the last decade, but a really talented driver and just a really good all-around guy. He's a really good teammate as well. He works very well with everybody. He's a heck of a driver, and he's absolutely loving his time here in North America. So quickest of the out of the box is the Jonathan Bomarito number 93 Viper, a 1:21.567, and as I say that, Andrea Bertolini goes past, and kind of a 57 for Krone Racing at a 1:21.1. That's a great outlap for him. It's not yet fully up to speed, but still Andrea Bertolini there, the factory development driver at Ferrari Maserati. He's been there for a long time, driven an awful lot of cars, and he's been this weekend is joining Tracy Krone and Nick Johnson in that number 57, that very distinctive lime green Ferrari 458 Italia.
He put in a good lap, didn't he? That
was a great outlap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just the outlap, so not fully up to speed yet, but still impressive.
Well, I was going to mention that the GT track record here, which is what this class used to be when it was the American Le Mans Series, and the rules are virtually unchanged. They aren't unchanged at all as they transition through, so it's got some relevance here. It was Jimmy Bruni in the Ferrari F430 in 2011, turned a 1:18.69. So that's sort of a target time. I don't know if we're going to get there, but it's going to be fun, that's for sure.
And the pole last year was set also in a Ferrari by Matteo Magliucelli at a 1:18.861. So, yeah, I think
we're at a 1:18.9 by Nick Tandy.
There we go. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks for making us look.
The 911 Porsche, the 911 Porsche.
Oh, big lockup by Wolf Hensler in the 17 Falcon Tire Porsche heading down into turn 10. Didn't look like it hurt him too much. So Fisichella second at the number 62 Risa Competizione Ferrari in a 1:19.5. Of course, what does he have? Something like 229 Formula One starts. Fisichella. I mean, talk about experience in virtually everything. 31, okay. But Nick Tandy, what a sparkling lap by Tandy in that 911. Keep in mind, at Circuit of the Americas, it was one of those cars that qualified on pole, and Tandy led most of that race right up till the very end. Had a bizarre little mechanical issue and they lost it, but those Porsches now are definite factors, as Tandy is showing. But Jonathan Bomarito, I'll tell you, this guy is special. Number 93 Jonathan Bomarito in the Viper for SRT Motorsports, a 1:18.966, jumps to second. Teammate Goossens in the 91 Viper goes to third at a 1:19.203, and answering back, Nick Tandy responds with a 1:18.5. And Fisichella improves to a 1:18.84. This is fantastic.
So that is a new GTLM record around it, whichever way you look at it.
Yep.
1:18.520 there for the Porsche of Nick Tandy. The Englishman became a factory driver a couple of years ago, and boy, he's taken full advantage of that opportunity and really did a fantastic job. Last year, of course, he won here in the Petit Le Mans, driving alongside Brian Sellers and Wolf Hensler in the number 17 Falcon Tire Porsche, which we're watching on the screen right now. Brian Sellers, the local resident, given the opportunity to qualify that car, currently stands 5th in the order, but Brian Sellers was fastest last night in that car, quickest of all the GT cars, with a lap time of 1 minute 19.0, so already the quickest cars in the class are half a second underneath that.
Boy, Dirk Mueller just uncorked a 119.150, jumps the 56 BMW Z4 GTE up into the 4th spot. You know, these are just, I think, superb conditions right now. It's a little cool. The track certainly is cool with the cloud cover, but there's still, it's humid, which means there's a lot of density in the air, and that means these engines not only love the power, but that means the aerodynamics are even more effective. And opportunity. You're looking at a 118.35 by Nick Tandy. He just keeps dropping that record here.
He really is on fire. Nick Tandy right now, he's got 0.3 of a second. Giancarlo Fisichella bumps himself up into second place in car number 62, the Risi Competizione Ferrari, 118.683. Third fastest now for Jonathan Bomarito, 118.8004.
Yeah, Michael Christensen makes his first appearance up in the top 5 in the 912 Porsche 911 RSR at a 119.001. Goossens now 5th.
The 19146, and next on the charts is the number 56 BMW with a 119.150, and Antonio Garcia at the number 3 Corvette, also 119.150, but the Corvette's currently now languishing in 8th and 9th places because of the improvement there for Brian Sellers in car number 17, the Falcon Tires Porsche, a 118.945 that slots him into 4th place.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, this is his home track, and they test here a lot. He knows this place intimately, and I think everybody, you know, in the team said, "No, Brian, you're qualifying for this one. We want to, you know, extract that out of you." And is he delivering? Again, as you talked about, fastest last night, just marvelous to see it here. Here comes the number 4, Tommy Milner, down to the bottom of the hill, and not quite bettering his previous best lap. Antonio Garcia, the number 3 car, going through in front of him, and just a 10th off of their best lap, as well as we are at 6.5 minutes remaining in this session.
Another quick lap also from Nick Tandy. It wasn't an improvement. It wasn't an improvement. 118.350 he did on his lap, on his 4th flying lap. The next time around, they were 118.436, so within a 10th of a second, and still more than 2/10 clear of anybody else.
And again, watching Brian Sellers, if you're with us here at IMSA.com on our global web feed, down the hill in that beautiful Falcon Tires Porsche number 17, and he improves his time, but unfortunately for him, Michael Christensen improved his time, and Christensen back up into 4th with Sellers tucked right behind, just a couple of hundreds back in the 5th spot right now.
So it's Porsche, Ferrari, Viper, and then the second of the Porsches at the moment. Nick Tandy fastest in car number 911, 118.350. Giancarlo Fisichella for the Ferrari in second place. Jonathan Bomarito in the SRT Viper third. Michael Christensen and Brian Sellers in the 912 and number 17 Porsches in 4th and 5th. Dirk Mueller turns a good lap there in the BMW, but he's, as soon as I say that, he's usurped by Antonio Garcia. The number 3 Corvette moves into 6th place, also underneath 1 minute 19 seconds.
I was going to say, it's the first time we've seen one of the Corvettes go sub 119, so they are starting to get after it here. And here we go. Let's see, one of those Porsches just flashed by, heading up now into turn 1. Looks like it is the number 911 of Nick Tandy, and he's just sort of coasting it right now, just keeping those Michelins warm in case he needs to let one fly here. But in this class, he's got a little over 0.3 of a second in hand. That's huge in this category.
Yeah, in this class, because yesterday, I think in the final session, something ridiculous like there was a 10th of a second, it might have been the second section actually, I think a 10th of a second covered the top 6.
Ryan Sellers just goes a 118.707 and jumps to 3rd in the Falcon Tires Porsche, the number 17, pushes Bomarito back to 4th. Christensen now in 5th.
And the best of the Corvettes, Antonio Garcia, car number 3 in 6th place. Next up would be Dirk Mueller in the best of the Team RLL BMWs. Car number 56, a 119.1. Mark Goossens, a number 91 Viper, a 119.1. And then the second of the Corvettes, Tommy Milner, car number 4, 119.256.
Jonathan Bomarito brings the number 93 down into pit lane, decides that's what we've got. As we are at just under 4 minutes to go. So I don't know if it'd be enough time for Bomarito to do anything effective and get out and get after it here. But Certainly, yeah. Fisichella, 2, brings the Risa Competizione, number 62, down into pit lane. But Brian Sellers is out, and Tandy, he's in. So it's Sellers, Christensen, Antonio Garcia of our top group still sit out on track.
Brian Sellers comes underneath the bridge, down the hill into turn 12. Last time around was a 1:18.707. He flashes across the line that time, a 1:19.4, so 3/4 of a second slower on that lap.
Christensen, 2, has pitted, so Garcia remains out, currently running 6th in the number 3 Corvette. Goosens, Milner, and Andrea Bertolini in the number 57 Krone Racing, Krone Aviation Ferrari. And here's the number 91 of Goosens. See what he decides if he stays out. He does. What does he do in terms of a lap? A 19.2. Just a 10th off of his best lap. Down the hill comes the Corvette. On board the number 3, we ride with Antonio Garcia. A couple of seconds off of his best. 3 almost, actually.
Yeah, 1:21.2 that time around for Antonio Garcia. His teammate Tommy Milner elects to come onto pit lane. And Brian Sellers, I think he might be off the pace a little bit as well, bringing that number 17 Falcon Tires Porsche back to the pits. He's still running a pretty good pace coming down the hill into turn 10.
Let's see, yeah, he's working pretty aggressive on the curves. Yeah, I think he's on one. At least he's thinking about staying on one here. He stays out, and I think it would be very special for this team with Sellers to be able to get a pole here. And he turns, so close, at 18.8. His best lap at 18.7.
It was just the stance of that car looked to me like he was maybe coasting a little bit. But it's so clean, the front of that, the new 911 car. It's so clean. There's very little sort of flip-ups and downforce generating parts on the front there. It looks really, really clean. And it was, the speed is deceiving in that car. Another great lap there from Brian Sellers, 1:18.823. But it's still Nick Tandy in the factory Porsche, the Core Autosport run Porsche North America 911. Car number 911, a 1:18.350, 3/10 of a second clear of the best of the rest, that being Giancarlo Fisichella's number 62 Rita Competizione Ferrari.
Garcia brings the number 3 Corvette down into the pits as well. You take a look at both of those beautiful Porsche North America machines, that factory effort for that program. Goosens comes by, but well off at a 1:37, so I think he...
I fancy maybe he was just trying to cool the tyres down maybe one more time, and maybe there's another lap in those tyres. I'm sure he'll go up the hill, turn around the first few corners, see how it feels, and if the predictive lap time looks good, he'll continue with it. If not, he'll probably abort and come into the pit lane, because we're inside the final minute of this 15-minute qualifier session for GTLM.
Sellers now, he's slow through 10, but if he comes down, I mean, he's got the opportunity to get one more lap. Bertolini stays out. He's going to go after it, and I think they're just, they don't run this series that often, so I think they're going to go after it. Sellers indeed does pit, and basically I think Nick Tandy realizes that he may have just notched a pole for Porsche North America in that factory program. First time, that a factory Porsche GT program, a full-on factory Porsche GT program, has been racing in North America for quite some time. A great development this year, and boy, that special car, yeah, Nick, nicely done by Nick Tandy. I'll tell you what, he's got a love affair going with Road Atlanta, doesn't he? That win last year and that drive was brilliant, and now the Total Pole Award to Nick Tandy. Yeah,
absolutely right. And the sister car, the number 912, the Michael Christensen, that was on the pole at Sebring earlier this year. So the Porsche does have a pole already this season. In fact, all the manufacturers, as I was saying earlier on, have scored pole positions during this season, which is absolutely amazing to me. All 5 manufacturers have been on the pole at least once. And the bank of photographers there around Nick Tandy, and he gets the plaudits there for a really, really fine effort to qualify that car on the pole position in GTLM.
Yeah, it was young Mike Christensen who got the pole.
Yeah.
Dane at Sebring, and boy, that was a brilliant lap too. I love that. They went on to win. So there's a portent there for you.
That's right. That's exactly right. So that was a good session. But I tell you, we haven't seen anything like that margin this week at all in GTLM. But Nick Tandy really laid it down there. But behind him, the next 5 cars covered by, well, maybe 3/10 of a second. So that would be the Ferrari, the
Nick, when you like,
number 17 Porsche, the Viper, the other Porsche, and the Antonio Garcia Corvette.
I think I hear Jim Martin might have Mr. Tandy.
Boy, it's You'd think that Nick Tandy had Patrick Dempsey sitting beside him in the car. There's such a crowd here. The photographers literally had staged a photo op in front of the car on pit lane just a moment ago. But Nick has managed to extricate himself, much to the surprise of all involved. Nick, lap records and all, my goodness. Is it at all possible you could have done better?
Yes. I think if we had the two laps, the two faster laps and took the best bits out of each, there's probably a tenth or so in it. But, I mean, the car was pretty good. We aimed with the tyre strategy and the tyre pressures for the car to work in a particular time, and it was all about nailing those laps when the tyre was really good. And fortunately, I was able to do it. But, you know, to have that much of a gap is a little bit surprising. It's a good omen. But yeah, I mean, to go that fast, first laps of the day, seeing as we didn't run this morning, is really satisfying.
What a way to start the day. Maybe we could start the day like this tomorrow, perhaps?
Absolutely, that's the plan. And finish it like this. That's more to the plan.
Oh, the plan gets a little bit thicker as we go through it. In the meantime, congratulations once again, and just a tremendous drive. Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'll tell you, he's special. The other side of it I want to mention here, folks, you know, I often say racers at this level, and we're talking world class and above, in my opinion, they're wired differently. You know, for him, think of how small Nat's whisker segment of time we're talking about, 1/10 of a second, and he can feel that, if I missed it by a 1/2 there, and I missed it by a 1/2 there, if I had both of those laps and strung them together, might be a 1/10 in it. I mean, to feel 1/10 of a second difference, these guys, man, they are special.
Yeah, some of them you wonder whether you can believe them, but Nick Tandy you actually do, because he's very analytical. He knows exactly where he is at one with the car, when he's at one with the car, and he certainly was there. That was a couple of tremendous laps he laid down there, and some tracks suit some drivers, and this track certainly suits Nick Tandy. He's gone well here from the moment he first arrived, and this is the combination of that for him. It's not the combination, because he there's a lot more to come, he reckons. A victory here last year, though, now the pole position. Boy, is he on a roll.
Boy, absolutely. And I'll tell you, he had a great line. I've been fortunate to do some Q&As that Nick has been involved in at some of the Porsche dealerships around the country following the tour this year. And at one point we were chatting about about how fortunate things are, for these drivers. I mean, they work at it. They're the training they have to do, the analytical debriefing and the knowledge, the engineering skills, all of that. But at one point, Nick Tandy said, you were talking about, things are going pretty well for you these days. And Nick Tandy said, well, think about it. He said, tomorrow I get to go drive the most highly evolved Porsche GT racer ever made and get paid for it. Life is good.
Yeah, no complaints. And Nick's, he still keeps his foot in the door in racing back in the UK too. He runs a very successful Formula Ford team over there. I think they might have won the championship again this year in the British Formula Ford Championship. There's certainly been front runners throughout it, and so he's not only a race car driver, he's also a businessman as well.
Well, you have to plan for after the racing career, and these races, a racer of that caliber, and believe me, there's lots of them. Obviously, we're not singling them out, but oftentimes you find them going into team management, running a team, and they just have that ability. 5 minutes, the report from race control now to the start of the next session, which will be the other Pro-Am category of the 4 that run in the TUDOR United Sports Car Championship Prototype Challenge. And once again, we generally see the pro driver, the faster of the drivers, do the qualifying in these cars. And again, these cars are very effective, high performance, full-on downforce generating prototypes based on the Orica chassis. And they've got that big thundering LS3 V8 engine in the back, the Corvette V8 essentially in the back of these cars. Very high performance, no traction control, so the TC is the driver's right foot. And they say these cars, to get them to really extract speed out of them, they're difficult to drive, and that makes this class exciting. And that's going to be the next group up in about 5 minutes. By the way, Jim, if you find anybody else, just jump in and let us know. But otherwise, we're looking forward to this qualifying session. And it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, there's a dynamic in this prototype challenge category. You've got the Core Autosport Flexbox team already clinched the drivers' championship. Pretty handy advantage in the team championship, which would be, I think, a remarkable 4 straight for the team in this category. And Colin Brown is just an absolute magician. He's tends to score lots of poles. But as of late, I mean, Bruno Junqueira was a guy that could come after him. We've seen Renger van de Ven to be right there. But there's a guy named Jack Hawksworth who has sort of lit things up just a little bit as he's joined in the team RSR entry. And he's been very impressive as of late.
Yeah, hasn't he just? He was quickest in last night's session as well, was Jack Hawksworth. Bruno Junqueira, he's scored 3 poles this season in this class. Colin Brown has equalled that. And 2 poles also for Sean Rahal in the number 25 car for 8-Star Motorsports. So I think they've got to be our major contenders. Yep. Those 4, including Jack Hawksworth. Yeah. But it's going to be a hard-fought, close-fought session again. There's no doubt about that.
That's a good point on Sean Rahal. I mean, he's been the guy as of late in qualifying. So spectacular too. In that he's not generally considered, usually shares that car with Luis Diaz, who would be considered the pro driver. And Sean Rahal, we've joked about it before, but I think there's some truth to it. He may be one of the most valuable commodities in international sports car racing right now, a really, really fast silver driver.
Yeah, and he created a very good impression, particularly 2 weeks ago at Circuit of the Americas when he won there. And he was telling me yesterday he's already had some interest for some teams in Europe, actually, as precisely for that. He's still only 19 years of age, from Winston, Georgia, so another relatively local guy. But he's really come on strong this season. Last year, he won the Cooper Tires Prototype Lights Championship powered by Mazda very, very convincingly. And at the same time, he was acting as a driver coach for 8-Star Motorsports, particularly for Christian Portolicchio. And as a result of that, he's parlayed that into an opportunity to drive 8-Star's PC car. And boy, has he done a good job this season. He really has done magnificent work. He's had 2 wins, he's had 5 podium finishes, a couple of poles. And that's not bad for a rookie of 19 years of age.
No, I'd say that's downright spectacular. No question about that. They're going to be out next, and then, of course, after their 15-minute session, a final 5-minute break, and then the TUDOR United Sports Car Championship prototypes will be coming out. And I think we're going to see an interesting duel here. The Action Express Corvette, the Konica Minolta number 10 Corvette from Wayne Taylor Racing have been very quick, and that stunning number 42 Ligier HPD powered chassis from Oak Racing. I would think they would probably nab Alex Brundle to go out and qualify, and he is special, and it'll be fun to see that. And I'll tell you, Alex, not only does he drive like his dad, I mean, he is awfully talented, but you see him getting interviewed, if you close your eyes, it's spooky how much he sounds like his dad.
Yes, absolutely right. And I knew his dad at this stage in his career, actually, and the similarities are quite remarkable. Martin was quite a driver, actually. In Formula 3, he really pushed Ayrton Senna extraordinarily hard in a memorable Formula 3 season in 1983. And yeah, that was quite a battle those two had, and they both, of course, moved on to Formula 1. Ayrton made a sensational career for himself, regarded as one of the all-time greats in the sport. But yeah, Martin pushed him really, really hard.
There was one other guy who finished in front of Ayrton that season that is a fairly recognizable name in America.
Didn't finish in front of him, but he certainly pushed him pretty hard. Yeah, Calvin Fish was part of that.
You betcha.
Was part of that.
What a season that was.
It was, yeah, and it was great years actually. Davy Jones was in the mix there, and Alan Berg, who a Canadian driver who is now running a racing school out on the West Coast, Alan Berg Racing Schools.
We are green. The prototype challenge machines on course for their 15-minute qualifying session here in the final round of the championship. And just the way that the schedule fell in this one, for them it is round 10 of the championship this year. They ran 10 rounds at the 12 events total that were held. The other classes all ran 11. I believe on the schedule next year everybody will get the same number of total number of events, races at the end of the year, although not everybody will run at each event the way that it is set up. And some of that's a numbers game. This series now is fields sometimes pushing 50 cars in some paddocks and pit straights at some of the big venues, especially the street courses, just can't handle that number. So they work the numbers just a little bit. But at this stage, this is it. Season finale for everybody. And they are heading out on track. As we said, Colin Brown and John Bennett, the team principal of that team, have already clinched the Drivers' Championship in this class. So that's now it's just to go out and race. But second, third, and fourth are still up for contest, so there's lots there. And these guys just tend to put on a great race, and we're enjoying it. There is the number 25 down the hill, the 8-Star Motorsports machine. Onto the front straight, starting the flyer.
Yep, warming up the tyres as he goes towards turn 1. Presuming that's Sean Rahal who's going to be qualifying the car once again this afternoon.
That's Gunnar Jeanette for sure. Easy to tell with that helmet in that Camp Boggy Creek machine.
The 52 car PR1 Matheson Motorsports, and that's one of the few cars in the field that's electing to run with just 2 drivers for the race tomorrow night. To Gunnar Jeanette and his regular co-driver Frankie Montecalvo. They've shared all sorts of different cars over the last few years. PC cars a couple of years ago, and then they spent a year in the World Endurance Championship in the GTEM class, the Pro-Am category.
Saw the number 7 go by, one of the 2 Starworks entries, and they've added a couple of drivers to the normal pairing of Martin Fuentes and John Martin. Adam Burson is driving, and so is Ryan Eversley getting an opportunity to run a prototype here, and of course just won in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge ST category with his co-driver there, Kyle Gimple. So nicely done for them. There's the number 8 car, and that beautiful livery on that car, the old Martini colors. Gotta love it.
Kind of cool to see, isn't it? Renger van der Zende and Mirko Schultes at the wheel of that car number 8, also for Starworks Motorsports, and joined this weekend by Alex Popov, who's a former champion in the PC class 2 or 3 years ago with Core Autosport. So there's a lot of talent in this class, and we're beginning now to see some lap times being set.
Actually, it's Tom Kimber Smith.
Yeah, I wasn't sure it was.
Yeah, we weren't sure. I mean, the way Rahal's been as of late, we wouldn't have been at all surprised to see Sean get the nod there.
Tom's keeping busy. He was just taking part in the Continental Tire race as well, wasn't he? In a Turner Motorsport BMW.
Yeah.
So he's keeping busy this weekend, and he's had some success here in the past. So he knows these PC cars well. He's driven with the championship-winning team at Core Autosport, so probably a good pick for 8-Star Motorsports. But I know Sean Rahal desperately would have wanted to qualify the car here.
Yeah,
outvoted.
It's Georgia. That's a big thing. Here's the number 88 machine. That's one of our Bar 1 Motorsports entries. Tom Papalopoulos, David Cheng, and I believe Johnny Molam would probably be doing the qualifying.
Yep. Good to see Tom Papadopoulos and Johnny Molam back in the series. It's been a while for both of them.
Yeah, they ran on Aston Martin and World Challenge a number of years back as well. So I mean, there's been
long-time buddies, those two. Oh yes,
absolutely.
Long-time buddies. But Tom hasn't raced for 4 or 5 years, I would think, but did make his comeback at Circuit of the Americas a couple of weeks ago, and they had a very respectable run there for a first time back in the sport.
And it's an
series. They finished in 8th place.
18-2 for Tom Kimber Smith, and that is the first time that moves him up in front of everybody, and it's a 2.9 for Tom Kimber Smith, Gunnar Jeanette at an 18.24. Here we go.
There we go. This is PC class racing. 2 of the almost identical times there. 1:18.240, 1:18.290, 1:18.58 for Jack Hawksworth in car number 08 for RSR Racing, and Bruno Junqueira, his teammate, 1:18.8. So just the 2 cars, number 52 and number 25, are ahead of the GTLM cars at the moment, but that'll change as soon as we get these cars fully up to temperature and fully up to speed.
And really referencing the existing PEC record here, which was set in 2012, doesn't directly apply because it's a different control tire that they're running right now on the cars. So we'll see exactly where things suss out. But again, Tom Kimber Smith down into turn 10 and working hard up and through 11 now. Down the hill, turn 12. These cars must be a lot of fun. And again, there's so much downforce at that point. The back of the car is not going to step out too much with the throttle application because you're pretty much flat on it. But boy, a good lap, a 17.348 by Kimber Smith, and Colin Brown comes through at a 1:17.7, and Gunnar Jeanette a 1:17.292. And the number 52 Camp Boggy Creek entry from PR1 Matheson Motorsports. The Bayshore companies also helping support that program. Jack Hawksworth is 4th and now jumps to 3rd at a 1:17.5 in the number 08 RSR machine. Great run for Jack, as we would have expected here. Junqueira pops up at a 1:17.569 in the 019 car and that is good now for the 4th spot. Colin Brown is 5th, and David Ostella in the Performance Tech Neighborhood Dash Phillips 66 machine goes to 6th at a 1:18.269, his first really quick representative lap.
The fastest lap of the weekend so far, or the week so far in PC, was set yesterday morning by Colin Brown in car number 54 at 1:16.791, so still half a second or so away from that time, and it is Gunnar Jeanette who leads the way at the moment in car number 52, but there's still that's one of the hallmarks of PC class racing, isn't it? We see the times just get faster and faster through the session, and pretty much through the whole 15 minutes. It always tends to be one of the most exciting sessions of all.
It does. Tom Kimber-Smith cracking into the 116s and a 1:16.827. Boy, that is a good lap by number 25, Tom Kimber-Smith, for the 8-star team. And everybody else that is following him through, no significant, Hawksworth, yeah, he does, a 1:17.523. Jumps to a 1:17.004, Hawksworth does. That's good now for second in the team car. Bruno Juncker at a 1:17.076. This is incredibly close. This is exactly what we would expect. Ostella comes through, now joining the 1:17 ranks. And he's one of the guys, and he's, David Ostella admits it freely. He said, I'm not a guy that 2 laps gets that fast time in. He said, I warm those tires up, I get my rhythm, and then I like to throw it down late in the session. So that's just how it's always been. And but he's been rather adept, although he did have a bit of an off in qualifying at Circuit of the Americas, but he's been pretty good at late in that session finding something and making a bit of a gain. Nice to see Steven Simpson now in the 85 JDC Motorsports number 85 at a 1:17.911.
Tom Kimber-Smith comes across the line one more time and does improve slightly. 1:16.747 that time for Tom Kimber-Smith, so an incremental improvement, but he still has a margin of about 2.5 tenths of a second over Jack Hawksworth and Bruno Juncker, almost identical in the 2S RSR cars, second and third.
Colin Brown has just turned to 1:17.9 for his best time. Hawksworth to the pole in a 0.8.116.681. I say to the pole, provisional pole. Let's make sure we make that clear here, because there is time left in this session. But what a sparkling lap by Hawksworth. I was just watching Colin Brown, and I saw Hawksworth in turn 10, and I couldn't even get out what I was going to say about Colin Brown. That he improved his time but not position. Hawksworth did both.
He did indeed, and that is the fastest lap in PC this week so far, 1:16.681. So a great lap there by Jack Hawksworth, and Bruno Juncker. He's about 50 yards, 100 yards behind him on the racetrack, following him, and not quite able to match the same pace. A couple of tenths behind him there, 1:16.924 for Bruno Juncker, third fastest right now behind Tom Kimber-Smith.
Watching here in a global web feed at IMSA.com, you are watching Colin Brown as he comes out of turn 10 up and under the bridge at 11. And he sits right now in the 4th spot at a 1:17.119. And goes into the 16s. Nope, just misses a 1:17.081. And Hawksworth backing way, or that's actually Bruno Juncker backing way off down in turn 10, trying to create a little bit of a gap here as Hawksworth flashes through, and a couple of almost a second and a half off of his best. I think he was just keeping those tires right up to temp, and Juncker laying back. He wants to throw one down.
Yeah, he does, and he never likes being beaten by anybody, let alone a teammate. So the onus is on now Bruno Juncker, car number 09, third fastest at the moment, and trying to improve upon that time in 1:16.924.
There's another look at Johnny Mollum in the Autosport supported machine of Bar 1 Motorsports. Tough duty to come in after not running these cars all year long, get the call for qualifying, and to be expected to be right up on the pace. Sets his best time though, 1:17.9.
Indeed. So all 9 cars, we've got 10 cars on the track. Ryan Eversley is a little bit off the other two, but not that far off. 1:18.8 by Ryan Eversley. And the final car, that's a surprise, right? Renger van der Zende, car number 8. He's way down the order. He has best lap so far, 1:20.665. So maybe he's just biding his time a little bit.
Yeah,
actually shows in the pit.
Yeah, so maybe he's got a problem, and they're trying to tweak on that car just a little bit. Here comes Hawksworth once again. Gives himself a bit of room to the exit of the track, and still
he doesn't improve.
But Tom Kimber-Smith does. A 1:16, Jeremy, a 1:16.599. Tom Kimber-Smith for 8-star onto the provisional pole.
And that was a better lap for Jack Hawkes, but the 1:16.621 isn't enough. It's Tom Kimber-Smith now at the top of the pile for 8-star Motorsports, 1:16.599. Jack Hawkes with a 1:16.621. Bruno Junqueira also improves, but still that tantalizing 1/10 of a second behind his teammate Jack Hawkes. With Colin Brown, he's down into the 1:16s, and 16.962 for car number 54. He comes across the line one more time. Was that him? Or was
I think it was Colin Brown.
Oh, right.
May have come by. Here we go again for Tom Kimber-Smith down at the exit of turn number 10. And boy, I'll tell you, these guys, these cars run so close to the ground that they are staying well clear of that exit curve at the bottom of turn number 12. And Tom Kimber-Smith, that time about a second and a half off of what he had run previously. Hawksworth now out of turn number 10. Plummeting down the hill at 11. Pushing it. Does he do it? He does.
Wow.
Whoa, a 1:16.285, Jeremy.
That's laying it down. That is Jack Hawkes, the Yorkshireman from Bradford in Yorkshire. What a revelation he's been since coming over here, 3 years ago now. Came over to race in Star Mazda, now the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires. He won that convincingly as a rookie for Team Pelfrey in his first year. Last year he moved on into Indy Lights, and he finished, I think, 3rd or 4th in the points there, won several races. And this year, racing in the IMSA IndyCar Series for Brian Herder Autosport, a very low-budget team, relatively speaking, did a fantastic job on several occasions and really made a name for himself. That's what won him the opportunity to drive for RSR Racing and Indianapolis, and came away with the victory there. A magnificent drive for he and Chris Cumming.
And let's see, is there a response from Tom Kimber-Smith? Nope, not enough. Turns a 1:17.3. Down the hill now comes Colin Brown. He needs to find a bit here, and he does. I mean, he improves up into 3rd at a 1:16.719, pushing Junqueira back into 4th. But it's still Hawksworth in the 08 and Tom Kimber-Smith in the 25, topping the order. Colin Brown, Bruno Junqueira. 5th is still the number 52 of Gunnar Jeanette.
Yeah, so clearly a problem then for Renger van der Zende, the number 8 Starworks Motorsport entry, because he's still in the pit lane and it's not got time now to go out with just over 1 minute remaining in this session. So it is still Jack Hawksworth who leads. An improvement there. Was there an improvement? Not quite. David Ostella is in 9th place. Improvement for Johnny Molam, moves himself into 8th ahead of David Ostella.
1 minute left in this session.
Martin Plowman gets down to 1:17.219 in that number 87 car for Bar 1 Motorsports.
Got a glimpse for a second of Bruno Junqueira down through the S's now, watching Tom Kimber-Smith as he heads down through turn 10. And they'll get this lap and one more. Tom Kimber-Smith will. Looks like that may have been, not sure who that was. It just flashed by. I couldn't quite pick it up.
I think. He did improve. He got down under the 17 to 1:16.950. 5th place for Gunnar Jeanette.
And Hawksworth into turn 10 one last time. Ooh, this is going to be close. He's going to be able to get one more lap if he wants it. Down the hill he comes. Can he better a 1:16.282? No, 1:16.3.
Yeah, so still 2/10 quicker than anybody else has managed. 2 great laps there again from Jack Hawkes with that 08 car going up the hill now towards turn 2.
Checker flag is out. So anybody else coming through now, that is it for them. So we've got Hawksworth with an opportunity. I think Tom Kimber-Smith still has a shot at it here.
Stephen Simpson comes across the line. He does improve for JDC Motorsports, car number 85, but he moves himself up 1 position into 6th at the expense of Martin Plowman. So 1:17.203 for Stephen Simpson and 1:17.219 for Martin Plowman.
And here we go. Tom Kimber-Smith, his last time up from under the bridge at 11. Down the hill, he needs to find about 3/10 of a second. He's using up every ounce of racetrack. Turns a good lap, a 1:16.8, but not quite enough.
It's going to about do it, I think. I'm not sure who else is out on the track. I think they were among the last cars to take the checker flag. Is Colin Brown going through?
Ooh, a 1:16.6 for Colin Brown.
And a 1:16.8 for Gunnar Jeanette.
Here comes Hawksworth, last time by. 1:16.210 betters it again, and that just further locks down that pole position. That's a Tandy-esque margin of 0.3 of a second here. And I don't think anybody else is out there to be able to answer. What a qualifying session.
Bruno Junqueira.
Oh, yeah.
On RSR 1-2, Bruno Junqueira there, the last car, I think, across the start-finish line. A 1:16.471 moves himself into second place. So, wow, what a day for Paul Gentilosi's team there. RSR racing the 08 of Jack Hawksworth on the pole in PC. Bruno Junqueira in second place in the 09. Tom Kimber-Smith, who led so much of that session, back in third place now for 8-Star Motorsports.
Yep, and Colin Brown tantalizingly close to that third spot, just missing it by 13 1/1000ths of a second. Colin Brown sits fourth, Jeanette fifth.
And just about everybody improved on that final lap. The first two did. Tom Kimmer-Smith did not quite. Colin Brown did in fourth place, 1:16.612. Gunnar Jeanette did in fifth place in car number 52, 1:16.8. Martin Plowman in car number 87, he improved to a 17.0. And Stephen Simpson, he was on a good lap there, 1:17.203 on his final lap as well. And Johnny Molam also improved on his final lap. So as we thought, it was all going to come down to the final few seconds as the fuel load burns down, the cars get a little bit lighter, and those Continental tires super consistent, and they're able to just go faster and faster and faster. That was fun.
That is a great session. Always love when the Prototype Challenge cars come out to qualify. So Jack Hawksworth earns himself a Total Pole Award, courtesy of Total Lubricants, a great partner for the International Motorsports Association and the TUDOR United Sports Car Championship. And Hawksworth will head down, get himself an opportunity with some of the photographers, I'm sure, to celebrate that Total Pole Award. And then maybe our Jim Martin will be able to trip him and grab him and get an interview with him.
Yeah,
then, of course, the prototypes come up.
Chuck, hold on, we're getting some raw meat for you. We'll throw it in there in just a minute.
This is the fourth start only for Jack Hawksworth. He had a stunning victory at Indianapolis, the first time out in the car. And then he returned for the following race at Elkhart Lake and came away with a fourth place finish along with Chris Cumming. And then last time out at Circuit of the Americas finished fifth, that pairing. So they've not done many races, but they've been super fast every time they've been out.
Yeah, boy, they have been spectacular. And there's the celebration. Hawksworth out of the car. And boy, and again, that lap by Bruno right at the end here, 1:16.4 to get that front row sweep. That's pretty impressive. Let's get down to Jim.
Jack Hawksworth is here. Much of the applause of the entire team. They've got a vague idea how hard that was.
Well, 1 minute.
Got to take your helmet off, make it a little bit easier. It's got to cool off just a little bit. It's cooler than it was yesterday, but it's still a warm, humid day at Road Atlanta. As Petit 17 qualifying continues, and Jack, what a nice drive.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, the car was great, which made it pretty comfortable, to be honest. I mean, I think Bruno got really close on the last lap then, but throughout the session, the car was really good. Just knock out consistent lap times, and really happy to get that, because we had a really good car last night. Felt really good going into that, so I just wanted to make sure we got it done, and we did. So a big thank you to the RSR team, everyone involved. Looking forward to a long race tomorrow and hopefully an exciting one.
The mug of beer will taste sweet tonight.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well done, sir. We're going to walk down the way just a little bit and see if we can find Bruno Junqueira too, because he's worked just as hard as anybody else. He's got a whole bunch of if we don't get run over first.
Exactly. Well, as you said, it gets loud down there.
Bruno,
we are green.
Congratulations. Last second you pulled it out of the hat. You've got cars side by side in the grid now.
Yeah, very good. I had a little bit of traffic in qualify, so I just had to wait the last lap. The car wasn't, the tires were a bit out of the peak, but I'm very happy for the RSR team, 1 and 2, and it's a long race, but qualifying the front give us a good morale boost.
Absolutely. Well done. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Bruno Junqueira.
Thanks very much, Jim. Yeah, indeed. I mean, that is, whenever you sweep the front row, the team loves that, no question, and puts you in a good place for the race. We ride on board, folks, if you're joining us at IMSA.com, with Alex Brundle, wasting no time, powering by the Spirit of Daytona. Visit Florida.com. Corvette, he wants clear track. He wants to go. And, that's a car that it's derived on the P2 rules. And as a result, it makes its speed by carrying speed through the corners with lots of downforce. and so he wants clear track. That's how he gets the job done out there. I mean, everybody wants clear track, but it becomes even more imperative, obviously, for Brundle here to just be able to flow around this track. And when you give Brundle the chance, generally pretty good.
Yeah, he's not too bad, is he? Not too shabby. He's really another Brit, of course, though. It's a Brit's rule, I'd say. Just looking back on my notes here, that's the 5th pole of the season in just 10 races for RSR Racing. So hats off to those guys. And Jack Hawksworth really taking full advantage. But now, yeah, with the big boys are out now, the prototype cars, and they're beginning now to get out onto their first flying lap.
Oh no, problem for Brundle.
Turn 10A, the exit of that, he's pulled off on the right-hand side of the road.
We were just on board with him coming out of 5. He just accelerated and drove on by. So, boy,
these guys had a problem in the very first session yesterday morning. They completed only 8 laps before the engine dropped a cylinder. And they had to effect an engine change prior to the afternoon session. Actually missed half of the afternoon session as well, but came back really, really strong after that. And were super fast in the nighttime session.
Red flag as a result. This session is red flag. Now the general rules are that you're guaranteed 10 minutes of green flag for qualifying here. So that would mean, you know, the clock will continue to count, but if they get down inside where they can't make the 10, they will add that in. And Brundle, good onboard shot there as he's on the radio trying to talk to the crew. And chatting with now the EV crews that have come out. He just gave the old slash across the throat, didn't he? Saying, yeah, I got nothing right now.
He's got no power there at all whatsoever. So that's a great shame for the Oak Racing squad, because that car had been fast. He was fastest of all last night. And was very, very confident here. He just wanted to get a good lap in and qualify this car somewhere towards the front. He wasn't too, well, yeah, he wanted to be on the pole position, let's face it.
Sure, he's a driver. He's a racer, but just being there, you know, again, you know, there's the psychological boost, the satisfaction to the team. You know, yeah, we gave you a car, you go out and you put it on pole for us, we appreciate it. But in a 10-hour race, qualifying isn't as important by any stretch, and so this won't be as earth-shattering as it may have been otherwise, but still.
No, but it's certainly worrying.
It would have been. Yeah, I mean, just this niggling problem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a major problem yesterday with the engine in the first session, and for whatever it is now, I don't think there's any fluids dropping out of it. So whether it's just sort of lost its electric power, we don't know. That something has gone awry there, certainly, which is unexpected. And particularly unfortunate and ill-timed.
It's funny how that happens, because this chassis, the Ligier chassis, made its North American debut at Circuit of the America 2 weeks ago on pole, didn't miss a beat, was fast every time it went out, just ran like clockwork, and the guys were saying, yeah, this has been fantastic. You know, the crew has done a marvelous job with this new chassis and this engine combination. Everything's just clicking. And you come to the second race where you think, well, they'll just be better, and something like this tends to pop up.
Yeah, the car, though, is still very early in its gestation period.
Yeah.
I mean, the car only made its debut at Le Mans. That was its first race on the car. So it's still pretty new, and you expect to have some sort of niggly problems, but you certainly don't want to. You want to get those out of the way as soon as you possibly can. It's on board here as Alex is coming down the straight, and clearly he's lost his power there coming down the hill towards the chicane.
You see a flashing underneath the 5 on the dash that's built into the steering wheel there, and he's clearly paying steep attention to the mirrors.
So he's got some electric power, because the dash is working, and you can see the gear shift light, or the gear shift number that's illuminated on the dash is working, but the engine apparently not.
Well, as we went back to green, it was 10 minutes and 16 seconds, which would fulfill in and of itself the 10 minutes of green. So we'll see what happens there. The number 31 Corvette, that is that program from Marsh Engineering, the Whelan machine, and that's Boris said, obviously Eric Kern, and those guys. It's a steep learning curve for them this year.
I'm joined this weekend by Max Papis. Great to see Mad Max back in the fray, and not only that, but happy birthday, Max. It's his birthday today. Can I tell you? Can tell everybody it's your 45th birthday? Why not?
No, don't.
It's not bad. Hey,
no,
not bad. He ages well, does Max, as well. Great character. Wonderful to see him back in the sport. And still very much involved in all sorts of different programs. He does a lot of NASCAR, particularly testing these days, the road courses as well. races for them, but it does a lot of testing, a lot of behind-the-scenes work. But again, another super enthusiast.
Absolutely. First car to come by now on his first flyer is the number 5 Action Express machine, followed by the number 90 VisitFlorida.com Corvette, and the number 10 Konica Minolta entry from Wayne Taylor Racing as the 31 Whelen machine comes down into the pits. And then just trundles straight on down pit lane.
Could have got a drive-through.
Oh, that's possible.
Maybe exceeding the speed limit or something. We didn't hear a note to that effect. But he didn't appear to stop at his pit.
Oh, the 07
Whoops.
has had a bit of a moment here. That's up at turn 3. He's over on what they call the motorcycle chicane. And it was a penalty on 3-1, they said. So it has been assessed. And we continue. So it'll be interesting to see just where that 07 is, if it's far enough off, or maybe he's able to get it going and continue. And, and a red flag is called, and it was Christian Fittipaldi at a 16-0.
Whoa! What's happened there? Contact.
Oh boy!
Number 9 car.
That's car 9 getting into that car.
Whoa.
Oh boy!
Has it?
Oh yeah, you can see the damage to the left front corner of the
something,
9.
certainly.
Yeah. Oh wow!
Well, where was the number 07 car parked? It wasn't.
Well, it was sitting more at about 90-degree angle to where it is now. I wonder if it was trying to regain the track, and the 9 came up on it. But now we are under our red flag once again, folks. And boy, it's going to be interesting to see if we have some replays to pass on to you.
That's some serious work for both of those crews tonight.
And I'll tell you, the yellow flag's waving up there.
Yeah, that was number 9 car, wasn't it?
Yep, that's the Frizzels, the team car, joined by John Fogarty on the. We're going to get a replay. Yeah. Well, no, he saw him coming and stopped, but the 9 car
just locked up the brakes.
Yeah.
And, well, that was bizarre. I mean, number 9 car just locked up the brakes and sort of slid straight into the side of the 07 car. The 07 car was off the track. It wasn't as if it was really in the way. The yellow flags were waving, and that was a very strange incident, because certainly that's very strange. Very strange. Just goes straight into the side of the 07 car.
Because the 07 car was there, started to move to get on the track, and he had just spun it. Now, that was all the issue was, as he came up, got the curb in turn 3 and spun it. And as he started to go, and you can see the yellow flags waving already, so that it wasn't as if there wasn't a flag flying. And he waited for a couple other cars to go by. You could see that in the background on the onboard camera. And then he just started to move, saw the 9 coming, stopped, and the 9 just a little bit too quick up into turn 3 and locked up and got into him.
Yeah, just sort of deer in the headlights stuff, really, because the number 9 car just locked up the brakes and slid straight inside him. He could have tried to go either side. If he got off the brakes, he'd have had some steering. So that was a really unfortunate accident there. Looks like it might be Brian Frizzell. I'm not quite sure.
You wonder,
but really unfortunate.
It's the old target fixation thing. You just see that car, and it's just, which way do I go? And by then it's too much.
It's too late. Things happen awfully fast in these cars, and it's a great shame for the Frizzells, because it's great to see them back in the sport. Bert had a birthday a couple of days ago as well. So happy birthday to you, Bert. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. And they were quick too. They were fast last night. That car was really good. Good to see them back. They're not doing the full championship this year, unfortunately, the Frizzell brothers. But whenever they do run, they're fast. Earlier on in the season, it was Bert who joined the number 5 car for a stint at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and therefore was credited with a victory at that race. The brothers themselves finished in 3rd place, I think, didn't they? But because Bert did a stint in the leading car, he was credited with the victory. So that was his 4th victory. Well, he had 4 victories prior to that in the old DP days in the Rolex Grand Am Sports Car Series.
Well, I think what they had put the program together this year with the number 9 car to run the Tequila Patron North American Endurance Championship, and so this, of course, is the final round of that championship as well. And we just had an onboard of the contact from the onboard camera inside the cockpit of the Lola Mazda, and right when he saw that was inevitable and it was going to happen, hands off the wheel. Great thing to do, hands off the wheel and grab those belts. So both drivers out.
I'd rather tried to steer it away, quite frankly.
And now they are crawling into, obviously they're going to get a quick ride into the medical center, as is always. It's just that is what you do in these scenarios. Looking back a little bit earlier, this is all the way down through turn 12, down the run up into turn 1. It's pretty good there. To the right, transitions up into turn 3. Ooh, a little loose there. That's what it was.
Yeah.
The car just snuck away as he was setting up. You know, you're braking as you're turning there, and you know, if the tires aren't quite there yet, maybe.
Yeah, it looked like Tristan Nunez. They just caught out a little bit at the top of the hill. The car sort of slid one way and then the other, and kind of lost it over the curbing on the left-hand side of the track, and then spun across the road after that. And you know, he came to a rest in a pretty safe location, but not safe enough.
Well, when we had him when he was sitting there, you know,
he got on the curb on the left-hand side of the road.
Just enough. When he was sitting there, you watch, you can see he's frustrated right there. There's the flag waving, and a couple other cars on a previous shot of that came through that section of track, and he waited.
Yeah.
And let him go, and then he started to move, saw the 9, stopped immediately.
I'm not sure whether he saw the 9, but he certainly stopped, and he was off the racing line. So, you know, with yellow flags waving there, I'm afraid that you kind of, if you're going to apportion any sort of blame, which you don't really like to do, but certainly it was Brian Frizzell who shouldn't have been on the limit, I guess, with the yellow flags out. You know, you're supposed to slow right down. So I feel really, really bad for him, because he's a great guy and always does a really, really, really good job with these cars.
Yes.
So, but they, you know, Action Express, hopefully the damage won't be too bad. They'll get that car repaired again. He'll be out for the race tomorrow. But he'll be really, really frustrated that he wasn't able to take any meaningful part in this qualifying session.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, as he got on that curb, and then when he started tracking toward that car, he locked him up. Just, I think, and just had absolutely no steering input at that point once you lock those fronts up.
No, and if you try to turn left, then the wall is not too far away on the left. And if you try to go right, maybe it'd have spun it. So, just one of those things that goes horribly wrong every once in a while. It happens to everybody. It happens to the best of them. So it's just one of those things. And the car will be repaired, and they'll be get back in the race, and they will be fast in the race, because that's a really fast car. They got a really good team there with the two brothers, and with John Fogarty joining them as well. None of them are regulars in the championship this season, but they're all really fast drivers, and they've all won races at this level on a pretty regular basis. So it's good to see them back, at least for this race and the final race of the championship and the final race of the North American Endurance Championship as well.
Well, you talk about fast drivers in that car. I believe John Fogarty is the record holder and will be forever now in Grand Am in the Daytona prototype category for poles.
Yeah, 24 poles or something like
amazing,
that. Remarkable record that he had amassed for himself in that series, most of them with the Gainsco Racing squad.
Well, it's going to be interesting. You're waiting to hear from race control, because there is that rule about 10 minutes of guaranteed green. We have not had that, and time is just about to expire. Well, here we go. All right, so we just got word they are going to go back on 1 minute. They will be back to green, and they are tracking the amount of time. And we'll usually get a little graphic will appear on the screen that says how much green time there has been. And once that 10 minutes shows, that will be the checkered flag. Don't know exactly how much time that is at this point. We'll see that in just a minute.
So we are going to extend the session, and that makes a lot of sense, certainly, because there is one more race to come this evening. Of course, the second round of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo will take place after this race, so that will be postponed just a few minutes. But hopefully now we can get this 10 minutes of green flag time for the prototype cars, and we can set a grid properly for tomorrow's race. It would be horrible to have to set the prototype field according to practice positions or anything else. If you've got enough time, we've got plenty of daylight this evening. I think it's going to be a 50-minute Lamborghini race, but which is supposed to take the green flag at 5:55. So maybe we might have to put that back 5 or 10 minutes. Hopefully that won't be too much of a problem. First thing they've got to do, though, is clear the track up at turn 3, and that work is still underway. Meantime, all the cars are waiting anxiously on pit lane, ready to get out on the racetrack and try and lay down some laps. There is the green flag. There we go. perfect. So time had actually expired in the session, but hats off to the race officials. I think that was the right call to extend the session a little bit and try and get some qualifying times in here now. And hopefully it'll be third time lucky for the prototype cars. What do you say, Greg?
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what they need. We've had the 2 cautions, and now we're going to
a depleted field, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, hopefully
dropping like flies. We've got in left.
I know it's going to be. Yeah, let's keep them going here on this one. Yeah, once again, it's the number 5 that and part of that is obviously they're the points leader, so they are a little bit farther down pit lane, and they are out first. And
that was the only car that actually completed a lap before the red flags came out. Christian Fittipaldi setting a 1 minute 16.047. So that's the only lap of a representative time set by the prototype cars. I think he was the only guy that actually completed 2 laps, wasn't he? Because everybody else had just done 1 lap.
And the number 10 machine, that is the car, of course, Ricky Taylor going to be qualifying. The Konica Minolta Wayne Taylor Racing number 10. Oz Negri out in the number 60. Mike Shank, Aero Curb Records machine. Scott Pruitt in the 01. Telcel Ford EcoBoost Riley. Richard Restbook in the number 90. Visit Florida.com car. He'll be doing those qualifying. This is going to be good now. Everybody coming around. Next lap, or certainly 2 laps after this, is when we're going to start to really see them. And it's interesting, it's just not used to, are we, seeing Daytona prototype derived cars, if you have followed Grand Am for so long, go by and hear that turbo whistle out of the cars, and those Ford EcoBoost Rileys, that's exactly it. And let's not forget either that we have seen some pretty remarkable pace, haven't we, from the Delta Wing in the sessions thus far. And you would think it would be Andy Merrick that would be out. There is a look at the Delta Wing as it whistles down through the S's with those new aero bits on the nose, and that little additional wing, Delta Wing on top of the Delta Wing at the back. And down into turn number 6.
It's certainly distinctive, isn't it, that car? And looks different every time I see it. Have they taken off that little delta off the top of the wing? It was on there, was it? Okay,
it's
just,
so
just
flat
that angle.
certain angles, and it's chrome, it just sort of disappears. It's all smoke and mirror.
All right, here is a representative lap time there, set by Christian Fittipaldi, 1:14.9. Ricky Taylor across the line in car number 10 for Wayne Taylor Racing, 1:15.2. So finally, Jack Hawksworth, his overall pole position isn't going to stand.
And Westbrook went through at a 15.9, and then Negri at a 15.7. Yeah, but Jack was hoping.
He was,
get that screenshot right now, buddy.
Catherine Legg, she comes across the line there, sets the 3rd fastest time on that flying lap, 1:15.495 for Catherine in that Delta Wing car number 0.
Yeah, she heard me say probably Andy Merrick in the car, and now she's mad. And going after, that's a good lap, 15.4. 2/10 off for Ricky Taylor. Negri, Westbrook in 5th, Pruitt in 6th, 7th overall, but 6th right now at a 16.2. Eric Kern qualifying the number 31 Wheelan Corvette at a 17.1 right now.
And the fastest lap in the practice sessions was set in practice session 2 yesterday afternoon by Sebastian Bourdais, a 1:14.6 in the number 5 car for Action Express Racing. That is the car that Christian Fittipaldi is qualifying, just under 14.508 as Christian Fittipaldi. Across the line also goes Ricky Taylor at a 1:14.967.
Westbrook at a 15 flat. And Catherine Legg just ran up on the back of that number 31 Wheelan Marsh Engineering car, and she had to check up big time, so that lap has pretty much been aborted. And Curran comes by, and now Legg giving herself a little bit of room. There's a look at the number 70. That's the team entry from Sylvain Tremblay's Speed Source team, and that Mazda Skyactiv diesel. So it whistles down the hill. That, diesel, it's with the turbo on it, fairly quiet car. And here is Scott Pruitt up into turn number 7, the Telcel Ford EcoBoost Riley, with that similar car right behind it in the hands of the always impressive Oz Negri from Mike Shank Racing. But Fittipaldi, a 14.508 up. He comes under the bridge at 11.
Checkered flag is out, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, and he got underneath, just able to get it done. Didn't improve his time, though, so Taylor, he improves, not position, but goes to a 14.79. Westbrook to a 14.92. Scott Pruitt to a, let's see, what does he do? A 15.224 for Pruitt. Jumps up into fourth, pushes Negri back to the fifth spot.
Yeah, Negri was right behind him there. The two EcoBoost cars nose to tail on the racetrack. And Negri just a tenth of a second slower. Catherine Legg comes across the line. She does improve. She splits the two EcoBoost cars in car number 0. Fifth fastest at a 1:15.3 for Catherine Legg.
Boy, and remember, she got parked behind the Whelan car that was slowing down to start a flyer. So she had to give herself a little bit of room and then still build that momentum. That was a great lap by Catherine Legg. And clearly the little bits that they put on that car, you can see that unique little sort of front winglet on that car, basically giving it a bit of a splitter essentially at the nose. Clearly working at this point. Curran, that's a good lap for that car as they continue their development at a 16 flat for that Whelan Engineering Marsh Racing program. But looks like Christian Fittipaldi at 14.408, and his second best lap also good enough, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a 14.522, wasn't it, on his final lap? So Action Express Racing really looking strong here this weekend, as they have been throughout the whole championship. They lead the championship coming into this final round, and a healthy 22-point advantage for Joao Barbosa and Christian Fittipaldi, joined this weekend in that number 5 car by Sebastian Bourdais. We always know he's fast. Interesting that Sebastian didn't get the call to qualify that car.
Yeah, exactly. But Christian doing what he needed to do, no question of that. Good run.
Yeah, good effort.
Putting that machine on the pole provisionally, and looking pretty solid here over Ricky Taylor, but again only by a couple of tenths. Boy, I'll make it 3 tenths with that 14.79, and then Westy at a 14.92 for the number 90 machine from Spirit of Daytona Racing, the visitflorida.com entry. Scott Pruitt fourth, and Catherine Legg, phenomenal lap on a rejuvenated machine from the Delta Wing team.